All right, hey Alex, how are you?
I'm great. Excited to be on your show.
Okay, cool. Welcome everyone. This is the Market Insurance Podcast. My mission with Market Insurance is to help people and me strengthen their economic security and maximize their freedom. Today on the show we have Alex. Alex is a super popular course instructor on Udemy, and basically he messaged me on Facebook. I think yesterday or 2 days ago, and he wanted we were talking about SEO stuff, and basically I saw that he has like over 100,000 students on Udemy. So I'm like, I gotta interview this guy because I kind of want to be a course instructor, and a lot of people want to be a course instructor, and now he's gonna tell us how he did it. So Alex, before we start talking about how you got such a massive audience online, there's a huge distrust on the internet because there's so many course instructors, and it's hard for a lot of people to trust these course creators because a lot of people are just teaching how to sell without having done anything themselves. Like a lot of people teach other people how to be entrepreneurs when they weren't really entrepreneurs themselves. So I just want to be really specific to establish trust with the listeners. How did you start out? So if we can, like, how did you go to school? Like, tell me like the full story. It doesn't have to be too detailed, but like, how did you start off? You went to college to learn coding or something?
Yeah, this is a good question because I myself have like a really huge, like fake expert fatigue, right? That's
Sure,
like because there's so many of these fake coaches, fake experts, and no one says like I suck, right? Everyone says I'm great,
sure.
but like it's so bad now. I used to take a lot of courses as a student myself, and
Yeah,
now I have such short like patience with us if they're like not teaching me right away, I'm just
yeah.
like clicking off. So about my experience, so yeah, I got a computer science degree,
Mm-hmm.
and I worked as a software engineer for a few years. And but one thing I really noticed is that like I'm sitting there making software engineers, you're making it. It's a respectable job. You're making a reasonable salary, but like I didn't know anything about business, didn't learn anything about business, but I always had my ideas, right? Like how you have some business idea, and when I was a software engineer, I knew nothing about business,
Yeah,
and they were like bad ideas, but they were mine, and I was
yeah.
curious to pursue them.
Oh,
So
bro,
like
let's. Oh, bro, I got this great idea for an app, bro. Yo, check it out. Don't tell anybody. I got this great idea. You right?
exactly like that. Although I was never one of those people. Don't tell anybody.
Sure,
I was never one of those,
sure.
at least to my credit.
Mm-hmm.
So and but I always had enough of a curiosity that it like pushed me to try them. So it was like whenever I wasn't working, so like in the morning I would wake up earlier before I went to work. Sometimes on the bus to work, I would work on my ideas in the evening and the weekends. And like they failed, and then they failed less and less. And after a while, I was started realizing like, oh my god, like if only I had a coach to explain to me, that I'm going in the wrong direction. That would have at different times it would have saved like 3 6 months, just one piece of advice, given that I would have listened because I'm a little stubborn. And I think all people are who are excited about their ideas, they have that stubbornness, like, oh, mine will work.
Mm-hmm.
But so that happened, probably would have happened to me. But that I really had, like I was like, oh my god, like with a coach, it would have been so much easier. So I, after a whole bunch of years of doing this and learning and failing and failing less and less, I created these mobile apps. It was about 2012. I launched my first mobile apps. It was to help entrepreneurs start a business. And on these mobile apps, there was one unique feature was that people were able to ask me business questions.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't matter, they knew me, whatever. It was I made it free in the beginning, and I really hustled. People asked like a lot of questions, like a few thousand questions that I answered, and I mean now there's like 2 million people on these apps, but I kind of obviously stopped answering for free because at one point it just became crazy overwhelming. I would like wake up and
Okay.
there's all these people.
So wait a minute, wait a minute. Let's back up. So I'm just trying to like explain to people who are like listening. So there's gonna be people watching and listening to this, and they're gonna be like, okay, this guy's gonna show me how I'm gonna build a following. As a course instructor. So just to establish trust. So you went to school, you learned how to code, and then right after that, you started making apps to teach people how to do business.
Not right after that. Right after that, I worked as a software engineer for a few years.
Excellent. Okay.
And during all these years, that's when I was like on my own, trying to build my own business ideas on the side.
Okay.
And they were kind of failing and failing, but failing less, like I was explaining. And so it took some years before I got a good grasp of like.
How many years were you failing? That's important.
So I finished. So it's hard to count because I guess my first startup that I really tried to make was like junior year of college. Was like my first legitimate, like, this is my first startup, right? And I think that was around, let's say, 2002, 2003.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and then the apps that I made that were my first, like, really not mediocre, but like really, like, I would say, okay, successful product. Not successful like I'm retired now, but successful in its own right. That was in 2012.
Okay.
So man, it took a while.
So it took you 9 years to like get a financially successful app going.
Yeah. So
whoa, that's great.
It took a while, right?
God.
No coaching, just by myself, and I had to work and support myself. And
what was that first app? So like, meanwhile, you were being a software engineer, you were working somewhere, you were doing apps on the side, and then after like 9 years of that, what was that first successful app? Is that the business coaching?
So that was like a business planning app, and that was, you know, kind of like the app kind of acted like, had me as a coach, right?
Okay.
Just like I wanted to have a coach for myself earlier, I kind of made that app to be a coach for others.
Okay, so you used like that from your 9 years of like, I'm sorry for this failing. you took that knowledge and you created an app to help other people not fail.
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, okay, that's very good. Okay.
So and then the cool thing about on that app is they were able to ask me questions, right? And I got a lot of questions, and I was answering them, like really hustling to answer them. And so then that app really gave me this kind of a pedestal where, like, not only I had to draw on my own experience, but I was able to get, okay, you know, I've talked to like 20 different potential gym owners. I've talked to 20 different potential coffee shop owners. And, you know, you kind of learn from these conversations too, brainstorming people, learning some of their insights as well. And that app really gave me like a strong footing, because that app, and that was like 2012. So maybe and it started really picking up like end of 2012, 2013, started really picking up. And then so many people started asking questions that I started making videos, like, because I've already answered like, how do you start a gym, like 50 times, right? So I'm like, I cannot bear to write it out, because it's the same questions that I was getting, right? So that's how I started doing YouTube videos. I'm like, I'm just going to answer it once on YouTube and then send everybody there. Yeah. And so I made a bunch of YouTube videos to help people. And then I played around with YouTube 2013, 14, 15 maybe. Maybe by 15 I was already like on Udemy, because Udemy was more lucrative for video content.
Interesting. So wait, so let me just interrupt you if you don't mind, sorry. So basically, so you were in those between 2003 and 2012. So you were a software engineer. Did you have any successful businesses between that time, or you literally just used your knowledge of failing to teach others?
Well, no. So I had businesses, but they never really like became financially self-sustaining enough for me to go on my own. So I always had to like keep working. Okay.
You know, like a regular businessman.
What's that?
Like most businesses, right? So most businesses, you don't just create and you sell in 3 years. Most businesses, you do it for a very long time. Yeah.
So, but I had to keep working on my 9-to-5 job,
right?
Before any of my actual side businesses became financially sustaining. And they all failed for different reasons. You know, some were, you know, like, I didn't know how to sell. I didn't know how to business plan. Like, there's a lot of like, each one met its doom for a different reason. But then I like learned, and some of them didn't quite just die. Some of them were just like okay businesses. You know, like I ran an event business, and that business was fine, but like it was never gonna. The way it was conceptualized, and it didn't really have growth potential. It was a small thing, so it made some money. And I kept doing it, and it's fine. But it wasn't like, if I kept doing it, I was never going to become wealthy or well off. So I was like, okay, did that. It succeeded in its own way, but it didn't really accomplish much more than that. So I'm like, I got to stop that, move on to something else. So there was a lot of that. So it was over time. In the beginning, I just failed spectacularly, and then failed less, and then mediocre successes, and then the apps were like the first main thing, and then after that, I did, based on basically the 9 years experience and the experience with the apps. Then I started like creating YouTube, creating books, doing business coaching, doing YouTube video courses, and then of course every day I'm still like running my own business and many facets of it. Right? There's YouTube, there's affiliate marketing, there's mobile apps. So like I have a very wide grasp on things because like I've actually literally done all those things, so I can teach them. And so a lot of people come to me for coaching, and it kind of gives me additional experience because I'm kind of there working on sometimes in my coaching I like work side by side on some things with the people. So having that also gives me this experience. And of course, like in the courses, students ask questions all the time, and sometimes they're very like off the wall questions, and I have to go and research and learn. And so now I'm like in the cycle of constantly learning and kind of having my hand, like finger on the pulse of what's new and what's coming up. And yeah, so that was a very long answer to your question of how I got started and how I.
Just to when you started blasting off, your first financially sustainable, like really successful adventure was the business plan app, where you were coaching
The apps, yeah.
Okay.
The apps were good, and also what really helped, like whenever you're studying almost any business, in the beginning it's almost like pushing a rock up a hill. Like it's really, the pushing is really hard. It's rare that it's an immediate success and it just goes great. So what actually really helped me as well is that at the same time I was doing a little bit of apps, a little bit of coaching, a little bit of YouTube, and together that ended up becoming more self-sustaining. Because there's a concept like of I forgot his name, the founder of Y Combinator, very famous guy. It's going to come to me in like 30 seconds probably. But he got this concept that I first learned about it from him. He got this concept of the top ramen profitability, right? Where if you live only on like top ramen and spend like no money, as minimal as possible, where can you break even? Because after that point, things really change. Because you at the lowest level, you are self-sustaining. You're not like in a free fall. Okay. And that's really like for new entrepreneurs, that's the first point to get to. Because after that, so much stress goes away. So it's just lifted, like, and life becomes easier, and you can think more long and medium term, and decisions become different and wiser because you're not pressured by the stress. So that's like one. The apps gave me that, and then of course that's like a major milestone for any journey of an entrepreneur. But then after that, of course, the sky is the limit, right? So after that, it's like a chase for making more and more and more. So all the things like YouTube, it added like the coaching, it added on top of it. So having a lot of stuff, like now I have like so many under my umbrella. There's so many things: apps, courses, books, affiliate, even Bitcoin now, and like coaching, and I'm forgetting a bunch of stuff. And there's so many things, right? So the combination of them, that really helps to boost things, of course, because
Okay, so just before asking about Udemy, what have you done besides like teaching and coaching? Have you been doing anything else, or you've been just teaching and coaching?
Well, I've written some books, so I'm like doing a lot on Amazon.
Mm-hmm. Are they books about coaching?
They're like business topics.
Okay.
But the books themselves are different. Like the business of the books is different from the books itself. Like if I wrote a children's book, the business of the books would be almost identical, right? Because I'd still have to figure out how to sell the books, right? So I'm in the business of selling books and creating books, independently of, doesn't matter if it's on coaching topics or like cooking, right? So same with the courses. Like even if my courses were about cooking, not about business, like I'd still be in like neck deep in the business of selling courses, creating courses. So you have to know the business of it really well. It's not just enough to create the product. Like I'm going to talk about business planning, but it's also, you have to know the business of your business. Like, how do you make a course successful? And everything outside the actual content of the course is like, doesn't matter what the course is. You still have to promote it like a pro.
So that's great. So okay, so let's like start getting practical. Okay, so you started the business coaching app. So what I think most people would be interested in, it probably your biggest achievement, maybe I'm wrong, is that you got like over 100,000 students like so far or in total via Udemy. So tell me how that started. Please be as specific and literal as possible. So because there's people, because based off the SEO of this video, the SEO of this podcast, there's gonna be like people watching, listening to this. They're gonna be like, they haven't started Udemy, they haven't started, and they're like, they probably posted a course or something, and it's like nobody has viewed it, and they're getting discouraged. Like, tell me how it went down.
All right, so I'll tell you. So for me, like on Udemy, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I have some natural challenges. I'm not a natural speaker. I'm not a natural presenter. I have a weird accent. I don't know audio. Like, I didn't start knowing like audio visual concepts. So everything you had to know about a course, I'm not a teacher either. Like, everybody thinks I'm good at explaining, but like, I didn't have formal teacher training, which I think would have at least helped a little bit, because it does take a little bit of time to learn what makes a good course. So I started like at every disadvantage you can have. I had that disadvantage. And so my journey was kind of like, how like people say business is like 2 steps forward, 1 step back.
Sure.
But I really don't like that, because it's not accurate. Like, it's really not like that. Imagine the same person, but drunk. Like, he takes 2 steps forward and 1 to the side, 2 steps back or 1 to the other side.
Yeah.
But eventually he kind of overcorrects, and then he somehow makes it there, but like very windy.
Yeah.
And I think that's how my Udemy journey has been. So like, I started almost 4 years ago, so it's not overnight. It's been a while. And I started very simply. I just ported a lot of my YouTube stuff onto Udemy, and just to see how it goes,
Yeah.
And I started out like, I thought I was late to the game 4 years ago.
Nah.
Right? Exactly, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, if I knew then what I know now, man, I would have cleaned up.
Sure.
but if only I had that coach again, Like, but it took me a while to learn everything slowly. I'm still learning. Like my speech is not as good as it should be. My presentations, sometimes I wish they were better, but all the time I'm trying to improve it. And I think the main thing that I did right that most instructors don't do right is I was persistent. I just kept trying and trying and trying, maybe to the point of like, insanity, right? Because that saying, what is the word? Like, there's like a saying, something insanity, like if you try something.
Yeah, you keep doing something over and over, expecting different results. Sure.
Yeah, then so maybe I'm crazy, but but maybe that's an entrepreneurial skill, because any realistic person would quit, and they'd probably be intelligent for that. And I think that's what happens to most instructors. I think there's something like 20 or 30,000 instructors on Udemy, but most of them have made like 1 or 2 courses and quit.
Yeah, what it is. So they put in they put in all their hours recording, buying a mic, editing the videos. Then they go on it and they get like 20 views in a week, and they keep sharing. Like, they'll share their course, like, hey, watch it. They'll put it on Reddit, they'll make a blog, they'll make an Instagram account, and it just doesn't work out. So after like a month and you have only 20 views or whatever it is on Udemy, they probably like leave. I'm just using my own experience. Probably something like that.
That's exactly it. But usually when you make your first of anything, it's the worst thing, right? It's like it's your second, third, and fourth will be better. Sure. So I think in entrepreneurship, it's often like the smartest people don't succeed as the persistent, resourceful, creative. Those people, when you have to keep on figuring out solutions to problems, like those are the people that they do well. And it's a long-term thing, as you can see in my example. It's luckily, like life is long. I had I had a long time to make mistakes and figure them out. And I'm still working on stuff. Like, I think where I am, it might, on one hand, I can see how it might make might seem like, oh, Alex has 100,000 students, wow.
Sure.
But on the other hand, you can also look at it, I'm just starting, because there's so many instructors that are like better than me. They're better at speaking, they're better at audiovisual stuff. They're like, so I have a long way to go as well.
How many students do you need to be respected on Udemy?
See, it's a wrong concept. Like, why wouldn't you be respected?
Sure. Well, you know what I'm saying. Like, for example, on YouTube, like if you have 10,000 subscribers, then you're kind of like, oh, he's a you know what I mean? He's like people. Like if you only have a few hundred subscribers, I have less than that. I have 144. No, people won't take me seriously. You know what I mean? But like when do people start taking? Like when you're on YouTube, you have a few thousand subscribers. That's when you start getting taken seriously. You don't even make ad revenue until you have 1,000 subscribers. You know what I mean? When is that point in Udemy? You know
it's hard to say because I don't think there's a point that everyone's like, wow, he crossed it. But I think if you can, it's not about the students. Like I think, and it depends who, because I'm looking at things from my lens, right? And I'm comparing you like to me. Then first, I don't even know what the right judgment parameters would be. Like maybe I'm a jerk, but like maybe I'm too tough. I don't know. But like if I was to compare it to me, well, like if somebody's doing half of me, well, they're like way behind, But to some people, half of what I've done, that's like really a good place to be. Okay. So and also I am like a loser to some people, right? Because I'm like, there's a lot of people who have tripled the students that I have, and they're like, wow, Alex is a loser. Like he's only got only 100,000. Like, only So I think it's kind of through whose lens you're looking, but I think I don't know that it's hard to say honestly, because also there's a whole point of like you should. I mean, the respect is like kind of comes from how you look at yourself, right? Like how you're doing, and if you're having some growth and you're like, well, I'm doing well for myself, I'm able to grow this thing. If you're struggling, then like you're struggling, and I think that's really the answer, because it's like that's the thing that's directly related to your actual business and its success. What other people say, I think if they're jerks, then they're not going to treat you well. But if they're not jerks, then even if you have one subscriber, they still will treat you respectfully.
Okay, I respect that. So you started your Udemy career. You put up some of your YouTube videos of when you were like business coaching. You were like, oh, how to make a business plan, stuff like that. You just posted that up on Udemy. So what happened? Like, tell me the grind. Like, explain to people like that. You know what I mean?
You want to hear me crying at the end of it, right? Like, it was so hard.
Yeah.
My life sucks. No. So I put kind of loosely coupled courses together. That's were not ideal courses. I just wanted it was for the sake of like saving my own time in case Udemy didn't pan out to be what it is now, kind of. So it was an experiment, first of all. And to new entrepreneurs, I'll say you have to experiment like crazy. And some things won't work, and some things will work. But if you don't experiment and try, you won't know what it will. If I never experimented with Udemy, I mean, what would I? So anyway, so that's first experiment. When you're starting out, experiment a lot. Then so I did that experiment, and it took me maybe 7 or 8 months to reach a 4-digit monthly income. Which
4 digits? It took you how long?
Like 7 or 8 months to reach like $1,000 a month that I was making on it.
Awesome. Okay. Continue.
And it wasn't even like 700 or 800. It was like 200 and 300. And then the first month was like the Black Friday, November, which is like Udemy has that big Black Friday sale in November, which is one of the biggest months of the year. And that's like the first month I hit like 1,000, and that was amazing to me.
Yeah.
And in a strange way, like in December, it didn't drop too much. It dropped a little, of course, but it didn't drop back to where it used to be. It just dropped off a little.
All right, so this is great. I love this. So you started like putting together courses on Udemy, how to start a business plan, how to market, how to social media, right? In that first month, how many students did you get?
I think the first month I made maybe, well, it was like half of the month because I didn't.
Sure.
It wasn't all 30 days, but I think it was like $70 or something. I don't remember exactly.
Like about 7
but then
students or something.
$70, and then the next month was like 100 or 200, and then the next month Udemy gave me some promotion because they had like a new instructor promotion. So
Sure.
they like, we're gonna promote you more. So I made maybe 400,
Sure.
and then the next month that promotion was gone, so I made less. Maybe it was back to 200.
But
and
in
then,
like in you started making three figures. You started making over $100 in the first few months, right?
Yeah.
And all you did was you took some of your YouTube videos and you pieced them together and you started making like really simple courses and you were making hundreds of dollars a month.
Yeah.
Wow.
But
that's
but it's
great.
not a good income, to be honest. Like, it's like that's a way to end up in the poorhouse.
No, I understand that. I understand that. But how many online businesses are there where you can make $100 in profit in like your first month?
That is true. In fact, my other businesses that I started in that 9 years,
Sure.
I mean, they were like way harder to make money.
You
So
probably
yeah, that's a good
lost
point.
money and didn't even profit for maybe 6 months or something of the sort, right?
Right, especially if you have your own website, you do SEO and all
Yeah.
this. It
No,
takes a while.
so think
And
about
so
it. Think about. I'm sorry. So think about
yeah,
it this way. There's people. Oh, drop shipping. Oh, Amazon. Oh, basically all the typical stuff people tell them to do about online business. But like you probably had a small YouTube channel and you started making a few $100s a month in like the first month, 2 month, 3 month. That's amazing. That's really good for an online business. Okay, but did you want to say something?
nothing too important, but I guess that Udemy is a comparatively, comparing to other online businesses, Udemy is, or for me at least, has been like a really good place.
Okay.
There's also a lot of cases where people, tried and quit, so it wasn't great for everybody. But for me, it has been like one of the better ones.
Okay, so let's continue talking about like the practicality stuff, the practical stuff, the finances, because I feel like if we're transparent about this, then it's gonna give people a lot of encouragement. So that's the point of this. We're really trying to help people. So in the first year, 7 to 8 months in, how many times did you like upload, or how many hours did you spend working on courses?
After the first few months on Udemy, I kind of doubled down on it, and I started making less YouTube videos and transferring more into Udemy. So it wasn't like immediate like cold turkey. I'm doing all Udemy now, but it was like slowly I was doing more and more and more and more because I was realizing like, oh my god, this thing is showing signs of life.
Mm-hmm.
I gotta really grow it. Yeah. And because when you're when you're an entrepreneur and you're experimenting, what you're really looking for is the signs of life, right? If
Yes.
something seems to be going, then you're like, oh, that one, push, 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 push.
Yeah.
So that was my experience. So like around the summer, I started in maybe March, let's say, of that year. It was 2014, 15, I don't remember. But so in around the summer months, I started focusing on it more and more and more, and adding courses. But my courses were not good. Like, they were originally made for Udemy now, and I kind of had fixed up my original courses, but still, like, my presentation was really bad. Everything was really bad. Like, everything about those courses I refilmed.
Made a few $100s a month though. How many hours a week did you put into Udemy?
It's hard to say now because it was 4 years ago.
10
But
hours a week.
I'm a guy, like, I work hard. So like, I probably say, just knowing the level of effort I put into things, probably like a full-time effort, maybe more, just on Udemy.
Oh, so
Yeah.
that's very significant. So this is very
Yeah.
significant. So you put in about 40 hours a week, and you were making $1,000 a month.
By like late summer, early fall, yeah, it probably started close to full-time on Udemy.
Okay, that's tough. Okay, so that $1,000 isn't as exciting. Okay,
Well,
but I get it. I respect that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pros-
So it's hard, and
Tell me
that's
about
another
the-
reason why a lot of people wouldn't do that. Because they're like, oh,
Right.
only $1,000. I'm hungry. I'm
Tell me
starving.
about the second year.
Huh?
Tell me about the second year. So you're going into your second year now. You're excited. You see your numbers growing. You're getting better at creating courses. Like, so tell me about the second year.
Right. So I made that first 4 digit in November. Then December wasn't bad, and then January on Udemy. That's the next year. The January is another very good month on Udemy. So I don't remember now, but I think it kind of stayed afloat. And then through the spring, it was like not like hockey stick. A lot of people talk about the hockey stick, but I never had that. But like it just like a little bit more every month.
Yeah.
And then on like I remember May that year was like I was like, oh, like I'm middle class on just making middle class salary on Udemy, like maybe lower middle class, but like you know what I'm saying?
So
like
you were making a few $1,000s a month on Udemy in your second year, working 40 hours a week.
yeah, but probably like more than 40 because I work hard.
Okay.
So
Wow.
and it was growing, and so by
Good for you.
the end of that year, by November of that year,
Mm-hmm.
I think I made like $8,000. And then by January of that after that November, by the January,
Mm-hmm.
it was my first $10,000 month, right?
Wow, that's fantastic. That's a very healthy online business. You know what I mean? That's awesome.
Yeah, but it's interesting that you say that because then something happened.
Oops.
In the April of that next year.
Mm-hmm.
So everybody was happy, like things were great on Udemy, not just for me, but for a lot of people. Everybody was making good money, blah blah blah, and then like the party, people thought the party was going to go forever.
Mm-hmm.
And then usually what I've noticed happens, big companies like Udemy or like Fiverr or like these online platforms, sure. they the Q4 is like they just keeping things, they're just focusing on selling.
Right.
And they don't make any big releases or changes in the Q4 or Q3 because they're gearing up. This is the biggest time of the year, like through the shopping season, mm-hmm. and then even through January, because January everybody's like resolution time, so it's still a lucrative month. Uh-huh. But then the quiet months of like February, March, April, and through the summer, that's the time that these companies typically make big changes, because this is the least risky time for them to make changes. So you can almost expect something new to be released. And so with Udemy, they ended up releasing a whole new review system, a whole new way of promoting courses, a whole new everything. And a lot of instructors saw a drop also in revenue because we had to switch everything we've been doing. So like, I give you an example. So one tactic that used to work really well was to post coupons on like discount sites. And everybody would post like $5 coupons, $1 coupons, $10 coupons, whatever. And it was legal back then to have coupons like that are less than $10. And Udemy stopped allowing that. So all the coupons everywhere I had on the web died. So it took a big hit just from that, because they were doing well at that time. They were doing well. Now it's almost impossible to go to a discount site and like sell a Udemy course. But then it was really, because it was so much less crowded.
Ads? You were doing display ads with coupons?
No ads, but there's a ton of coupon websites online where people like find coupons and they're like, wow, coupon, I'm gonna buy this. Doesn't even matter if they want it.
Oh,
so
man.
So there was a thing where you can do like it was a big trend among the instructors to find all these coupon sites and to post coupons to their Udemy courses on it. And it was relatively not bad in terms of being lucrative. That died almost entirely. And then also another thing that instructors were doing is they were underbidding Udemy, because Udemy does that $10 minimum sale. And instructors were like doing $9, $8, $5. And it was very lucrative because students were jumping on that, because they wouldn't get that deal anywhere else, right? So you can sell a ton of courses. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff that happened that April, and a lot of instructors' revenue like dipped. So that spring and summer was like, everybody had to re-strategize, right? So it was like a dip. So it's not all up. It's a dip. So that year was kind of a hard year on Udemy across the board almost. And then people started slowly figuring things out and kind of building up their Udemy businesses back. So to your point where, it's just good, it sounds like a good sustainable business, but man, anything can happen anytime.
Sure.
Okay.
Tell me about the decline. So you made $10K. What a great, good feeling number. And can you tell me what the decline was?
decline was actually really brutal. So at the lowest tip of the decline, it was like 80%. Yeah,
Oh, so you
and
went
then,
from 10K to 2K?
and I had to work my way back up. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So we're in the third year.
I mean, at that point I was okay because I was doing, I had books, I have YouTube, I have apps.
Sure.
I'm okay in life.
You diversified.
I'm diversified. I'm fine.
Excellent.
Like
Excellent.
but it is mentally really crappy
Yeah.
to go from,
I'm so
because
sorry.
when you're at 10K, you're thinking you're
Yeah.
never thinking like, I mean, you have it in the back of your mind, but you're like, but it's only in the back of your mind. But in reality, you're like, yeah, it's only going up.
Yeah.
And then you go boom, drop.
Sounds like
So
crypto, right?
huh?
Sounds like crypto.
Well, I hope that doesn't happen to crypto.
No,
That's
no.
too much. 80% is too much of a
Sure,
drop.
sure. Um. Okay. So you're in your third year. Udemy changed the rules up. You went from 10K a month to 2K a month, working full time. That's actually really great insight. People need to know that platforms can change like that. Okay, so you're in the middle of your third year. What's happening?
And so for all the instructors, they had to work their way back up. So that year was literally like, had to figure out, how to, all the strategies stopped working. So soul searching time, have to figure out how to be better at, presenting, all those things, better presenting, better at filming, but better courses, everything better, so that the course would naturally do well in the Udemy algorithm.
Great attitude.
And it's easy to say better, but there's a million and one things that go into it, right?
Mhm.
Like if you write the word hello in text, right? Like it comes out the same every time. It will never come out the same if you say it. So the presentation, talking and presenting and showing, and like there's so many levels of quality
Mm-hmm.
that you can go up, and it's never ending. So
Mhm.
video is like really hard,
Mm-hmm.
and so there's just so many facets to it.
Mm-hmm.
So and also we're all, to be honest, constrained because we're all filming from home mostly.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't have our entire homes or apartments dedicated to filming.
Mm-hmm.
So we're always in a constrained space. There's maybe, for some people there's echo, for some people there's weird lighting,
Sure.
for some people there's
I
like
love that. Okay. I like
all
how you
these
mentioned
like
this.
amateur things, and I wasn't immune to that. So you always have to work through some challenges. And so, but I kind of built it back up. Like I built it back up like month by month. Again, there was no
Mm-hmm.
huge kind of spikes, but like built it from little more, little more, little more, little more. And so since then it's been that was 2016, and then in 2017 it just kept on climbing.
Beginning of 2017, how much money were you making, and how many hours a week were you working?
So I'm gonna try to be I try to not give specifics.
Of course. Okay.
But in the beginning of, I'll tell you like this. In 2017, I doubled my highest from that earlier, right? So like kind of around there.
Yes.
So I came back up and way more. So and not to mention that this is only Udemy. I've got books. I've got like a B2B business where I license content, and I got, so it's really significant now.
Working 50 hours a week, working 40 to 50 hours a week, 46 hours a week. Stuff.
Like that, yeah.
Awesome.
Although now these days sometimes I take like longer breaks.
Okay.
Side
Awesome,
note,
man.
like I don't play like a lot of video
That's
games,
nice.
but like there's one game that I've throughout the years I've been like addicted.
What is it?
Civilization. I don't know if you've like.
Oh yeah, I know those games. Yeah. That's pretty cool.
That game takes like weeks to play. So I'm like, well, I just want to play Civilization for a week. So sometimes now I'm able to afford myself like a little bit of like, okay, I'm just gonna not work.
No, man, this is great. Like, this is so helpful to people. Like, I don't know if you made content talking about this stuff before, but people listening to this is so rich for them, because like this is like, how you were talking about coaching. Like, if somebody told me if this is possible, right? So people are watching. People are gonna listen to this, watch this. They're gonna be like, wait a minute, this is possible. You know what I mean? And it's not like you're not like superhuman, You know what I mean? You're not like Elon Musk. You're a smart guy, but you're no Elon Musk. Whatever, whatever. Like you're a hardworking guy. You're fairly intelligent, and you just after 4 years.
Just fairly.
No,
way to build up your guest, dude.
I can't. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. You know what I'm trying. I'm trying to. I'm trying.
You're no Elon Musk. Get off my show.
No. I'm trying to explain how you're intelligent, but like you're not like a genius or anything like that, and you're pulling in like these big numbers. You know what I'm saying? So like these are big numbers. You know what I'm saying? Who can make who? How many professions? How many online businesses make say 5 figures a month? You know what I mean?
It's
That's
true.
awesome.
Like when I was, let's say 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
I always looked at people who are like, oh, these people are making $30,000 a month, right?
Right.
And I looked at them and like, wow, I never thought I would be there.
Sure.
Right.
So,
and then, but actually, okay. So like, let's say now I'm there, but now it doesn't seem like that much. To be like honest, it might seem weird, but I'm like, what? Like it's like I'm no Elon Musk, right?
Sure.
Like there's people who making $1 million a month, or not a month, a year, and like, or 2 million or 3 million, and I'm like, there's people making like tens of millions a year, and I'm like, wow, like, and there's billionaires. So, and to the bill, like your question earlier, like to be respected, like how many students do you need?
Yeah. Well,
the billionaires, they think that like the people making $50 million a year are losers. Right? Like, so it's so relative.
No, I love this. I think like people listening to this, it's gonna give them a lot of relief. I think. You know what I mean? They're gonna listen and they're gonna be like, wait a minute, what? Are you kidding? Like, I think many people didn't even think it would be possible to do stuff like this. And within 4 years, that's nothing. You know what I mean? That's really not that much in the scheme of things. So, okay, so this is fantastic. So you're 4 years in, you're telling people they need to diversify because platforms change. And it's not that hard. So basically, you take your course, you hire somebody, maybe outsource, they change it into text, and you sell it as books even. Maybe you probably do it yourself, though. You know what I mean? So, like, now you got books on Amazon. You can, like, back everything up on YouTube and make ad revenue off of that. So this is great. So you're teaching people to diversify. See, you're coaching right now. You're teaching people to diversify. And if you work hard, you can really pull some big numbers on Udemy. So tell me this. Is everything SEO-based? Like, are you relying on the SEO on Udemy? Did you do any outside marketing? I'm sure you got like a mix of the Amazon books were promoting, like everything was cross-promoting each other. But like, tell people like, so 4 years in, you're pulling big numbers. Like, tell me what marketing methods you use.
So I think the smart way to think about it is that, like SEO is there and it's very visual and people can see it and understand and get it. But you'll never get more sales than there are people searching. So that makes sense?
No. I'm sorry, say that again.
So like you'll never get more if you just, a lot of people, they really focus on SEO, and it is a smart thing to do.
Sure.
But it's no Elon Musk thing to do, because you'll never get more people than there are searching, right? You'll never get more sales.
Right. Okay. Great.
So that's the problem with SEO.
Sure.
It's a good thing with SEO. You'll get consistent people searching, but you're still going to be in like that middle class mode, right?
It's not going to capture people who aren't searching for this stuff.
Right.
Okay.
So when you get on what I call like the good side of the algorithm, and it doesn't matter if it's on YouTube, on Amazon, or the Udemy, or other e-commerce or content sites, you know that like if you're, let's say, on YouTube, if you get search traffic, that's great. But where views really go big is if YouTube starts promoting you in the recommended next to really prominent spots. So either next to other big videos or somewhere on the homepage or some places. And it's maybe hard to get to the homepage, but it's not that hard to start becoming recommended. And all these algorithms on Amazon, on YouTube, on Udemy, they're really tuned to content quality. Because what their job is to recommend the best content and the highest selling content, because that is directly correlating to them making more money, right? So if your course shows that, and by the way, if you if they sell a course and the student has a bad experience, that student's not buying out the course. So it's really important to make sure that your courses are good, because if they see like people who bought this guy's courses don't buy more courses, they quit the platform. They're not recommending that dude's courses.
Okay.
See, so that's where like all the stuff that I every once in a while allude to, like improving. And by the way, like when I say these things, I'm still myself a work in progress, so I'm not saying I'm good at it yet. But AV issues, presentation, how you talk, all the facets of creating a good course. Of course, the content itself too. All that they monitor, and if it's good enough, at some point it becomes good enough, and they turn on the recommendation algorithm. It's all algorithmic, and it just goes boom. We're promoting this guy's courses, and then you just go grow.
So the key is, so what you focused on is, so you focused on SEO, the Udemy's internal SEO. Your main goal was not to get outside traffic. Your main goal was to be so good and to get such good positive feedback that you were playing the algorithm. So you weren't focusing on, oh, let me make a social media thing. Oh, let me get some ads. Oh, let me do this. Well, so you just focus on quality, and quality alone in 4 years' time pulled in 5 figures a month for you.
Right. So I do like almost no internal. I don't promote on Facebook. I don't promote on any social media. It's all my marketing is focused on like the algorithm.
Right.
And Udemy has like, once you're on the good side of their algorithm, of course it's, you know, like for our conversation here, it's like it's hard to go in depth on it.
Of course.
But you know, the more you just sort of dig into it, the more you can sort of pull the trigger, you know, because even though I'm working on it, like I'm still not the most recommended guy, right? So there's people who are doing it better than me. So it's always like a tug of war. Like, let's see, if I improve my audio, you know, maybe that makes people more engaged a little bit, right? And then I'm like, well, I'm getting recommended more, but only incrementally. It's not like a floodgate open. Okay, I got to do more. So always like in that consistent resourcefulness thing that we talked about earlier, that it comes into play, and like you just keep trying more and more things. Some things don't work. Some things work very mediocre. Every once in a while, you hit on something that's like, wow, the floodgates just open.
What if? I bet this is a common question for very new people. How cold is the algorithm? If you have a course that's kind of bad, should you just delete it? And like,
no, you don't delete it because it doesn't. You just improve it.
But
if you feel that the course has potential,
don't just leave a bad course though.
If it's a course that's about tying shoelaces, there's no market for it.
Okay.
So forget that course.
So this is what I'm saying. This is very for advice for new people. If they have a course, the feedback isn't so good. So you're saying take it off Udemy, improve it, and then put it back.
No, improve it while it's on Udemy. It's okay.
Okay.
Just keep it live there. Keep on getting reviews, because reviews, even bad reviews, they're actually kind of helpful because you know what people don't like. So and reviews on Udemy, they only have a life cycle of 90 days. So if you got a bad review, in 90 days it won't matter. Or if you get 10 extra reviews, right? Because
that's great.
And I think that works the same way on, you know, Amazon. You know, it's like rolling metrics, right? Because they don't care if you got a review 4 years ago. Your course is different now, right? So
sure, I get what you're saying. Saying. That's excellent. No, that's really good insight. Okay, so man, this is great. This is really cool stuff. I think this is really invigorating for people who are gonna listen to this. It's very invigorating. I'm invigorated. Okay, what about like I'm probably. Oh, I wanted to ask, how does Udemy pay you? So for every sale you make like 80% of the commission. Like, how does it work?
On Udemy?
Yeah.
So there's a couple of, so if you promote the course, like you give people your own coupon so they can track like, okay, it's this guy's coupon, then Udemy, like you keep 100%. The only thing you don't keep is like a 3% transaction fee. So basically you keep 97%, but on PayPal, you'd also give up a 3% transaction fee. So it's pretty standard. Like on credit card, you give up a 3%.
So I'm a new course instructor. You're telling me about Udemy. What about Skillshare? What about I guess maybe even Fiverr. What about Coursera? Like
So let's just stay on Udemy for 1 second because the 100% is only if you sell the course.
okay.
If Udemy promotes the course for you, right, if it's an organic sale on Udemy, then it's 50-50. And if it's an affiliate sale or sale from their ads, you only keep 25%.
Wow.
So it's kind of like, you can get very different amounts.
Okay.
So those are there, and that's been consistent. Like since I've started, that has not changed. I think it changed very, very, very early on, even before I started, and there were some problems. But since then, that's been like a really consistent part of Udemy. So that's Udemy. Skillshare pays very differently. They pay per minute watched. So every month they have a certain algorithm that figures out that every month a minute watched is worth more or less, and they pay you per your minutes watched, which is actually a good thing to do because if your courses are good and engaging, people are going to watch more of your courses, and you're going to make more money. So that is pretty good about Skillshare. Other platforms, I don't know. I'm not on them. Coursera, no clue.
Sounds good. Sounds fair. So out of all your sources of revenue, you make the most amount of money through Udemy, right?
Most months. Sometimes, like I have a B2B kind of a business where like sometimes established companies now come to me and they're like, well, we need courses. And I like that because companies like to pay.
So really, if you get really good at this, their businesses will reach out to you.
Right. So like because you're a prominent instructor and people want to start wanting to work with you, all that stuff. So every once in a while, people want to work with you, and you always want you always want corporate clients because they don't like a lot of money to you is actually little money to them. So it's a good corporate clients are pretty good.
Wonderful.
Because my audience generally for my courses is entrepreneurs who are not known for being rich. They're known for being struggling, right? So it's very nice to have a company who can pay to come to you. So that's nice. Another thing that works well is, like the crypto world. Every once in a while, it's like a hockey stick in that crypto world. I'm like, wow. And then, the last couple of months, it hasn't been all that great. But we got spoiled in 2017. Yeah. But so that every once in a while, I'm just like, wow, all right, I'll think that. And let me think what else. The books, they do well, but not like Udemy well. Maybe because I don't focus on them as much.
Sure.
But still, like they make a respectable amount. And then, but I think for people listening, that's just my story. Sure. I think for people listening, the lesson is kind of like this. Wherever you become amazing, even if you're on Fiverr, right? Like some people think, oh, you're on Fiverr. It means you're making $5 per whatever, right? But there's people making millions on Fiverr. So like, it's not about where you are, YouTube, Udemy, Fiverr, whatever. It's about how well you do there, right? Like if you got to be the best or one of the best in your category, because all these sites, they're more vast than we can understand. I mean, Amazon's the biggest store in the world. Like if you do well on Amazon and you're the best item in your category, you're gonna be amazingly happy, right? But the differentiator is that there's only one guy who's the best and everybody's struggling. So if you picture it as a pyramid, it's a very lopsided pyramid where most people are struggling, just like we talked about the Udemy instructors, right? Most people try like one course, two course, and they give up. But the people who don't give up and the people who start out competing everybody else, the quality, the marketing, all that stuff, eventually they become best in class. And that's no matter where you are. You're going to make very good money. So I think that's the takeaway for people.
So, okay, so let's wrap this up. What is, I'd like to keep practical, like something people can really take action. So just like as a way to end things off, like what is some practical advice you can give that people can really use to take action?
You will hate my answer on this because my answer is the most non-practical. Because you know why? Like, because I kind of don't like the practical, right? Because I might give you, hey, here are the steps. to make some money. But guess what? The next month, those steps will change, right? So those tend to be very like short-term, short-lived. I think when I've thought that way, it was more due to stress, because when you have stress, you need to alleviate the stress, and you only can think, I need to make money now, I need to do well now, and so then you start getting on a hunt for like, what's working now? How do I do now? How do I do well now? For myself, when I think what worked best for me, it's all the soft skills, productivity, focus, like time management, goal setting, all these like even emotional intelligence. Like I over time identified like 50 fields that are like soft skills, like leadership, management, all these, like they don't make you money immediately, but they are the key to out competing in every niche where you are. When you get close to the top, you're going to be competing with some, like, not the Elon Musks, but the other pretty bright guys or girls. And like, if you're a pretty bright guy and girl, and they're a pretty bright guy, what's going to set you apart is your ability, those soft skills, your creativity, your emotional intelligence, your ability to be more productive, focus better. And that's going to result in better products, because like, you can make a YouTube video, you can get 3 views, or you can get 10 million views. And what goes into that, everything in the middle, is you just leveling up yourself, right? So when you level up yourself, I think that's the key to long-term next level success. Like, not just success, but like next level success. Like that's the key. Without that, it's really hard.
Excellent.
You got to make your. I think for people listening, you got to make yourself a super A player.
Okay, no, awesome advice. Before we ask you like to plug all this awesome stuff you work on, is there anything else you want to say, or?
I think what I see in most people, like, I have a cousin.
Yes.
I try to help him with business. He's like 22. He just finished college, and he's always like, he lives in Australia. He's like, hey mate, this is my bad Australian accent. So he's like, hey mate, I want to make money online. And we get on the call, and I try to explain stuff to him, and then he gets excited, and then he doesn't do anything. And here's what's happening. There's a really like commonly studied emotion in entrepreneurship.
Sure.
Is excitement and enthusiasm, because it's the number one sort of emotion, if you channel it right, to get you to work, right? The main problem, it's a very also problematic emotion. Like, my cousin gets excited. Maybe people watching this, they might get excited or even inspired. I don't know why, by me, but like, whatever. But the problem with that is that excitement is also the number one most misleading emotion. Because when you're excited about something, you start daydreaming. You're like, yeah, I'm going to do it. I'm going to work the 60 hours, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to be right. It seems within grasp, within reach, because it's such a deceiving emotion. The reality of the business is like, my everyday, now we're doing an interview, it's fun, but my everyday is boring. Right. It's not fun. I'm like sitting by myself, recording stuff, talking into my computer.
You were like working 40 hours a week. You're just talking in front of a screen. You know what I mean? My God. All right.
A lot of people would see what my actual minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour business is, and they'd be like, I don't want to do that.
Yeah, no, that's
great. And then themselves, they don't do it because there's a lot of failure, a lot of frustration, a lot of, and like sometimes deep frustration. Sometimes you try it for 6 months and it doesn't work, or in my case 9 years and it doesn't work. So like imagine that, right? You're like, people get frustrated in a couple of minutes. They try something that doesn't work. Imagine 9 years.
Up, man. You don't give up. You've been, oh my God, 9 years of hustling, trying to make your businesses work, and then, man, and 4 years of trying to be a teacher. You don't give up, man. Good for you.
And so that's the thing, right? So the people who get excited, it's a short-lived thing. Right. I think you get discipline, manage, all the things that make a person a professional, and all the time making yourself a better and better professional. And then all these things like discipline, consistency, they come and then you just refine those things, and then before you know it, you're making $50,000 a month.
Awesome. Oh man. Damn, 50K. That's great, dude. No,
But that's just a number. No, that's for you.
Okay, sure. All right. So tell us where we can find all the awesome things you've created.
So my website problemio.com
Mm-hmm.
has my books, my courses. Those are, I think today, those are my best products, my books, my courses. I also have a promotion that I'm probably going to try to end soon, but it's I'm doing a introductory 15 minutes coaching call for $5 just to get people started.
Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me for $5? No, it's
just like an introductory thing. So and I don't love that either because it's a little bit cheap. So I might quit that. But right now I have that promotion there.
Cheap for $5. That's a Big Mac, man.
Yeah, kind of. But to be honest, it's not where you start.
Right.
Because a lot of the $5 people ended up thousands.
Awesome.
But they wouldn't have started if it wasn't for the if I priced it high and if I priced it prohibitively in the beginning, they wouldn't have who is this coach? Maybe how in the beginning of our interview you were like, well, I don't know if it's who is this guy? Maybe he's a fake expert. So there's that skepticism. So in a short time people see if it's helpful for them or not, and then they work with me longer. So it's $5 day one, but a year later, that person probably maybe spent thousands. So
$5 is worth it. Excellent.
And it's in any business, I think for people starting out, it's actually harder for most businesses, not all the time, but for most businesses, harder to get the initial client. And it's much easier to sell more stuff to them as long as they're getting what they feel is really great value. So it's actually retaining a client is much more lucrative than just getting them. And so that's why I kind of been doing that. So that's a long answer to your question of what people can find on my website. So it's basically problemio.com. It's problemio.com. And also I think you'll have show notes with some links to my all my resources. So
everything will be in the description. Sorry, everything will be in the description if you're watching or listening to this on YouTube. On marketinsurance.com, I'm gonna have a blog with all the links on marketinsurance.com. If you're listening to this on a podcast, just go to marketinsurance.com, marketinsurance.com, marketinsurance.com. It's going to have all his information and anything else. No, that's it. I think. Do you want to say anything else? I cut you off.
Well, it's been an hour, so I think we should thank people. If you're still here, you're the only one. Thank you for listening.
People are definitely going to, there's going to be really good retention rate. There's some great content. The second half of the episode was where the real meat was. Okay, great. Alex, thanks a lot. I'll see you.
Cool. Thank you for having me on, and thanks everybody for listening and watching.
Bye, everyone. All right. So